He saw her through the heat shimmer, iron on her wrists, dust on her face. Cale Harlan had been set on riding home before the light failed, but the outlaw camp in the gulch changed that. Smoke curled over the wagons, men's voices rose in bids, and at the center of it all stood the shackled woman, watching him like she'd been waiting. He moved the mare behind a ridge, dropped to the ground, and crawled forward. Lanterns burned low, casting long shadows over stacked crates. The stencils on the wood caught the light. Blasting powder, handle with care. The voice that carried across the ring was deep, lazy, dangerous. $50. Who's next? Pike Laird. Cale had heard the name plenty. Rustler. Killer. The kind of man who smiled with his mouth and not his eyes. If Pike was here, trouble was, too. The woman's head tilted just enough to meet his gaze. Her eyes weren't pleading. They were measuring. Cale whispered to himself, "What the hell are you doing here?" A guard stepped into view, rifle on his shoulder. Cale counted men. 8 in the open, more likely in the shadows. And the crates. There was enough powder there to blow the Thatcher Dam to gravel. He didn't waste time. He slid back, mounted up, and rode low until the wind swallowed the camp noise. Then he turned the mare toward the narrow wash that fed into the gulch. When he came in the second time, it was on foot, rifle in hand. Auction ring. The first guard went down without a sound, rifle butt to the jaw. Cale walked into the lantern light like he'd been invited. "Name your bid," Pike called. "Her," Cale said. The men laughed. Pike's eyes narrowed. "You got coin?" "I got enough." "Rules are rules. No touching without my say." "Fine," Cale said. "I just want to talk." Pike tossed a glance at one of his men. 10 minutes. Cale knelt in front of the woman. "What's your name?" "Mara," she said. "What do you know?" She glanced at Pike, then back at Cale. "Enough to drown your town." "The dam," he said. A small nod. 2 nights. East face, midnight. "How many men?" 7 plus Pike, and 1 in Willow Run with the keys. Cale's jaw tightened. "Who?" "Smooth talker. Banker, maybe." "Silas Thorne," Cale muttered. "You know him?" "Too well." The break. "Time's up," Pike barked. Cale's hand moved fast, cutting the rope that tethered her to the post. The nearest outlaw lunged. Cale swung the rifle butt into his ribs, grabbed Mara's arm, and ran. Shots split the air. Lanterns crashed. Powder smoke bit the night. Cale and Mara dove into the wash, scrambled up the other side, and hit the mare at a run. "Can you ride?" he asked. "Try me." They rode hard through the night, gulch fire shrinking behind them, until the lights of Cale's ranch came into view. By the time they reached his porch, she was swaying in the saddle. He helped her down. The cuffs were still on. "Inside," he said. She stepped over the threshold, eyes sharp even through the dust and exhaustion. "Why'd you take me?" "Because if you're right, Willow Run's 2 days from hell." She leaned against the wall, chains clinking. "Then you'd better believe I'll do whatever it takes to stop it." He set his jaw. "Not that." Her mouth curved into a tired, knowing smile. "We'll see." Dawn poured over the ridge like molten brass, turning the yard into a glare of gold and dust. Cale Harlan worked the last file stroke against the chain between Mara's cuffs. The link gave with a sharp snap. "Better?" She flexed her hands. The skin under the iron was red, raw. "Better," she said. He tossed the chain into a bucket by the door. "We ride to town. Sheriff first, then the dam." Mara leaned her hip against the porch post. "Pike won't wait that long." "Neither will we," Cale said, already moving for the barn. The mare stamped impatiently as he saddled. The day had the kind of heat that starts early and makes men quick to temper. Mara swung up into the saddle with stiff legs, but sure balance. She was no stranger to long rides, even if she didn't say where she'd learned. They took the south trail, the one that curved toward Willow Run, but before they'd covered a mile, Cale caught it. Faint, bitter in the wind. Smoke. "Smell that?" he asked, without looking at her. She lifted her chin to the breeze. "Not campfire." "No." His stomach went tight. They cut east, pushing the horses hard until the far pasture opened below them. Black threads of smoke rose from the fence line, and dark shapes moved slow among the posts. Mara squinted into the light. Riders. 4 of them. "Dusty's one," Cale said. "Look at that print." He pointed to the gouged hoof mark in the dirt, a split shoe he'd seen before in Pike's camp. They found the fence trampled, rails broken under boot and hoof. By the creek, a calf lay dead, its brand sliced away with a blade. "They want you angry," Mara said, kneeling by the prints. "They've got it." The ride into Willow Run was fast and silent. People turned to watch them pass. 2 riders in hard dust, one of them the strange woman who'd been in chains the day before. A pair of boys by the general store stopped their game of marbles. Mrs. Greevy stood in her doorway with a broom like a weapon. Sheriff Dunn opened the office door as they reined in. His eyes went to Mara's wrists, saw the red where the iron had been. "You all right?" "I'm standing," she said. "That'll do. Get in here." Dunn spread a dam map on his desk, tapping the east face with a pencil. "Foreman says no hidden door." "It's there," Mara said flatly. "Under the flood mark. Pike bragged about it. Called it his back porch." Dunn's jaw twitched. "And you?" He looked at Cale. "I saw the crates. Enough powder to bust the dam twice over." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "Thorne?" Cale didn't answer. "Smooth voice," Mara said. "Banker type." Dunn's gaze went to the window. "Can't arrest him on a hunch. I need proof." "Ledger," Mara said. "Follow the money Pike gets paid with. Look for cash pulled with no name." Dunn gave her a long, measuring look. "You talk like you've read a book or two." "I listened when men thought I was furniture," she said. Dunn grunted. "You take 2 men. Ride to the dam. I'll nose around the bank." The Thatcher Dam rose out of the valley like a wall against God's own river. Spray from the spillway made the stones slick under Cale's boots. Hobie and Jed came with him. Hobie sharp-eyed and green, Jed scarred from fights older than Hobie's years. Cale traced the line where floodwater had left its mark. Just below it, a seam barely visible. He rapped it with his knuckle. Hollow. "Here," he said. "Memorize it." "Wouldn't see it if you didn't know it," Hobie said. "You know it now. If I'm not breathing tomorrow night, you go to Dunn and put your finger here. Tell him, this is where the devil crawls in." The first bullet hissed past his hat. "Down!" Cale barked. They dove into the spillway trough. 4 riders broke from the cottonwoods across the river. Cale recognized the way the lead one moved in the saddle. Dusty. Jed put a round into one rider's shoulder, but the last 2 poured steady fire, driving them into cover. "Jed, you hit?" "In the arm," Jed said through his teeth. Cale's mind worked quick. "Hobie, smoke." The boy pulled dry grass from his saddlebag, stuffed it in a sack, lit it. Thick smoke rose, drifting into the shooter's line of sight. Under the gray cover, they hauled Jed onto his horse and pulled out along the narrow path. By the time they reached the ranch, Cale knew what he'd see before he saw it. Smoke rose from the barn. The roof had collapsed inward. Chickens lay dead in the dirt. Mara stood in the yard, soot streaking her face, a wet blanket around her shoulders. She held Cale's shotgun like it belonged to her. "They came fast," she said. Dusty and a scar-lipped one. Found your whiskey. I don't drink. They didn't either. Poured it and lit it. You hurt? She shook her head. Singed. They weren't expecting furniture to shoot back. Cale went to the barn's remains. In the ash, a sprig of mint tied with red thread. He held it up. Thorn, Mara said, voice like a blade. Red for silence. Cale snapped it in half and threw it into the ash. Won't. Sunset turned the sky blood orange when Dunn came back with an envelope in his pocket. Withdrawals from Thorn's bank, 25,000. No work orders. Signed, P.L. On the church steps, Mara told the town about Pike, the dam, and the banker. Thorn leaned in the bank doorway, smiling like none of it mattered. Careful with stories, Miss Mara, he said. They can eat you. I'll tell it right, she said. Back at the livery, 3 of Pike's men stepped from the shadows. Dusty, Scarlip, Pretty Eyes. Cale slammed the stall door into Dusty's face. Mara caught Pretty Eyes' wrist with a hoof pick. Shots cracked. A lamp shattered. They bolted into the alleys, boots pounding after them, and cut into open fields under moonlight. They didn't stop until the river's voice drowned their breathing. Cale drew the dam in wet sand. We meet Dunn here tomorrow. Catch them with fire in their hands. The wind shifted. Soap. Clean. Expensive. Down, Cale snapped. Bullets chewed bark over their heads. Above, boots on stone. A spark dropped into their hiding place, a parcel wrapped in oiled canvas, wired to a brass timer. Mara's breath caught. Powder? Not powder, Cale said. Clock. An hour. Why? So we know they could kill us, and didn't. They want us afraid. They can have everything but that. He cut the wire. The ticking stopped. The device vanished into the river with a hollow splash. They'll be there tomorrow, Cale said. Mara's eyes stayed on the dark where the men had gone. Then we go first. Moonset bled the stars thin. Cale watched the eastern sky go from black to iron, while the river kept talking like nothing human mattered. We move, he said. Mara pushed hair from her face. Done? At the office by sunup. If Thorn runs, we'll see the dust. They rode the ridge road with the first gray. Willow Run woke in slow layers, cook smoke, a hammer's ring, a baby's thin cry. The river was one fuse away from turning it all to driftwood. Dunn waited in his doorway, hat low, eyes red. Thorn's clerk says he rode east. Business. Toward the dam, Mara said. Tonight, Dunn said. We stopped jawing and set our teeth. Who've we got? Cale asked. Jed with a bad arm, Hobie, 2 ranch hands, Pastor Eli, 6 with me, 7 with you, 8 with her. Mara's mouth twitched. I count now. You stood on the steps and didn't shake, Dunn said. I shook, didn't show it. That's the job. The plan. Dunn and 3 would hold the spillway mouth and stair top. Cale and Mara would slip through the hidden door, cut fuses, herd Pike's men uphill into Dunn's guns. Luis and Tanner would watch the ridge. And Thorn? Mara asked. Alive if we can, Dunn said. They split to prepare. Cale bought Mara gloves and a coat that wouldn't snag. She slid them on. I like the grip. Stone gets slick. By dusk, they were in the dry wash near the dam. Dunn arrived with his men, passed Cale a folded sheet. Keys to the gates. If it comes to it, we hold the water. The moon climbed. They moved like smoke. Dunn's group toward the spillway, Luis and Tanner up the ridge, Cale and Mara to the flood mark. Mara found the seam. The stone yielded. Cold air kissed their faces. They went down. The stair smelled of wet rock. At the bottom, a tunnel along the dam's belly. Lantern light ahead. Pike's voice rolled through the stone. Supports only. Wall stays. Water does the rest. Thorn stood apart, gloved hands folded. Mara's jaw tightened. Cale stepped into the light, rifle up. Step away. Pike turned. Harlan. Pike. Thorn's voice was mild. You're in over your head. Not my first time, Cale said. A twitchy man went for his gun. Cale shot him through the shoulder. Next one moves, I shoot the kegs. Pretty Eyes flung a lantern into the water. Darkness swallowed the chamber. Gunfire roared. Mara smashed Dusty with a wrench. Cale dragged her toward the stair as Dunn's gunfire hammered from above. A fuse hissed. Cale found it by heat, pinched it out. Pike's men pulled back toward a side drift. Thorn slipped away in the dark. There, Mara said, spotting him. They chased him to a grated river door. He turned with a pistol. You shoot me! Pike blows it, and your town's gone, Thorn said. Let me walk, and I call him off. Cale didn't answer. He shot the pistol from Thorn's hand, slammed him against the grate, and cuffed him with the chain from Mara's wrists. They dragged him back. A fuse burned on another keg. Cale tore it loose and heaved the keg into the spillway. Pike came at him with a pipe. They fought in short, brutal bursts until Dunn's voice ordered, Out! Cale backed to the stair, eyes locked on Pike. Tomorrow, Pike said. This is tomorrow, Cale said, and left. Outside, Dunn snapped cuffs on Thorn. You have the right to be quiet. Thorn murmured to Cale, Town won't thank you. I didn't do it for thanks. They took him to Willow Run, but at dawn, Hobie came running. He's gone. Judge let him out on bail, paid in cash, signed PL. Dunn's jaw tightened. Tonight, no second chances. Mara stood. We go first. Cale rose with her. Then let's end it. By nightfall, the valley felt wrong. Not quiet, wrong. The kind of wrong where every cottonwood leaf stayed still. Every coyote stayed in its den, and the river seemed to listen to itself. Cale had felt this before, in the minutes before a herd broke a fence or a storm blew the roof off a barn. You could almost taste the trouble. The plan was stripped to the bone. No speeches. No slow rides. Dunn's crew would hold the spillway and the stairmouth. Luis and Tanner would be high on the ridge with long guns. Cale and Mara would take the east face and slip inside, cut the fuses, stop the blast before it started. If Pike got a flame to powder, they'd have seconds, not minutes, seconds. They rode without lanterns, letting the moon do the work. The light was cold and clean, painting the dam in silver bones. The water beyond it was a dark plate, waiting for a hammer. At the wash, they dismounted, left the horses in the shadows. You think he's here? Mara asked. He's here, Cale said. And Thorn's with him. They won't risk sending anyone else to light it. The seam in the flood mark gave under her fingers. The stone pivoted, breathing cold air into their faces. They went down, boots whispering on the slick steps. The tunnel's damp air carried the sound of men working, scrape of wood, faint clink of iron. Lanterns burned low, set against the wall. Kegs sat in tidy rows like soldiers at rest. Fuses lay coiled on the ground like snakes waiting for warmth. Cale counted heads. 6 of Pike's men, all armed. Pike himself stood over a line of kegs, checking each one. His coat was open, pipe of steel in one hand. Thorn stood apart, hands buried in his coat pockets, eyes sweeping the tunnel. He spotted Cale first. A thin smile formed. Back again, Thorn said, voice steady as ever. Not for you, Cale said. Pike looked up, smile slower. Should have stayed home, Harlan. You should have stayed gone, Cale said. You talk like you've got the drop, Pike said. I do, Cale answered, rifle steady. Step away from the kegs. Nobody moved. Then Pike's voice turned sharp. Do it! One man flicked a match toward a fuse. Cale fired. The shot took the match from his fingers, sent it spinning into the water gutter. "Try again," Cale said, "and you'll light it with your teeth." It broke fast. Pike swung the pipe toward Cale's head. Steel rang against the rifle barrel. Mara's pistol cracked once, sending one of Pike's men crashing into the wall. A fuse hissed to life. Cale shoved Pike back and ran for it. He dropped to his knees, pinched the flame hard enough to blister his fingers, and tore it loose. Another hiss, this one halfway across the chamber. "Mara!" She was already moving, wrench in hand. She brought it down on the keg's cap, splitting the seal. Powder spilled into the water channel, snuffed out. Pike roared, charging her. Cale intercepted, shoulder first. They slammed into the wall. Pike fought like a man who didn't care which of them drowned. Dunn's voice bellowed from the stair mouth, "Guns down!" Rifle fire hammered the walls, dust and stone raining down. Half of Pike's men bolted toward a side drift. Thorne didn't run. He stepped back into shadow, watching like a man collecting debts. Cale broke from Pike, closing the distance on Thorne. The banker didn't flinch. "You shoot me," Thorne said. "Pike blows the dam. Town's gone. You let me walk, I call him off." "Liar," Mara said. Thorne's smile was calm. "I pay for men like him. I can stop paying." "You could," Cale said, "but you won't." He fired, not at Thorne's chest, but at the pistol hidden in his pocket. Metal screamed. Thorne yelped and dropped it. Cale slammed him against the wall. Mara snapped a cuff, her own, around one of his wrists and clipped it to the grate post. "You'll regret this," Thorne hissed. "Not tonight," Cale said. A roar shook the chamber. Pike had lit another fuse. He came in low with the pipe, swinging for Cale's ribs. Cale ducked, ripped the pipe free, and cracked it against the keg. The cap split. Powder hissed into the water. Pike didn't slow. He slammed Cale into a support, elbow driving toward his throat. Cale shoved back, bringing the pipe up under Pike's jaw. They were both breathing hard now, boots sliding on wet stone. Dunn's men poured fire from the stair mouth, pinning the last of Pike's crew in the side tunnel. Pike stepped back, blood on his teeth. "Not over," he said. "Over for tonight," Cale said. Pike slipped into the drift, vanishing into the dark. They dragged Thorne up the stair. Outside, the night felt too open after the belly of the dam. Halfway back to town, Pike's voice carried from somewhere in the dark. "Tomorrow, Harlan!" "This is tomorrow," Cale called back. Mara rode beside him. "So it's done?" "For tonight," he said. "You still haven't let me pay you back," she said. He looked at her. "You already have." But by dawn, Hobie came running into Dunn's office, face pale. "He's gone," Hobie gasped. "Judge let Thorne out on bail, paid in cash, big chest on wheels, signed PL." Pike lared. Dunn's jaw clenched. "Then, tonight's the last night. No bail, no papers. We finish it." Mara stood. "We go first." Cale nodded. "End it."